Hello drivers! OpenDriver is an amazing project to look forward in 2022, mainly due to the frame rate and draw distance pushed to the max. Just look at the same place in Driver 1 and OpenDriver, it's night and day. From a few meters we can now see kilometers away. Indeed, we calculated that the strip in Vegas is roughly 4 kilometers long, and in OpenDriver you can see the end of it when you are at the first casino. The increased render distance has a few other results that I wanted to discuss today, but remember that OpenDriver is still in pre-alpha, that is why there is no lightning, shadows and other effects such as smoke. First one is interesting because it shows how the hardware limits had an impact on the artist's flexibility, or not. Take for example the Vegas Strip with a lot of details for each casino. When you come close to the casino called Paris Las Vegas, in the original game the Eiffel Tower is suddenly popping up near you. Because of this, you never see the top of the building with the lack of distance to see it properly as a wall. You can also notice that the French flag are not in the correct position, making it look like the Dutch flag instead. Anyway, OpenDriver Unlimited Draw Distance fixed this, but it also shows that the top of the Eiffel Tower was never made. It is understandable because why bother if the clipping will not allow the player to see it, especially when the game is already struggling for performances. Well, there is an opposite example in Driver 1 with the Golden Gate Bridge. In-game, you will never see a complete arc from the bridge, only half of it for the same reason of short draw distance. But if you use Film Director Trail Cam, you will be able to see it with the right angle. Of course, the difference is that the bridge is not in a zone with a lot of other things to render. In fact, that's the opposite, as you are in the middle of nowhere without any buildings or even water to render, so that might explain why the artist made the bridge complete, unlike the Eiffel Tower in Driver 2. The good thing though is that 22 years later, with the work of Sophie, the Golden Gate Bridge can be seen in its entirety from afar, not only a single arch but the whole construct. So the more I'm editing this video, the more I'm realizing that maybe the Eiffel Tower wasn't the best example to prove my point, as OpenDriver clearly shows that there is a top to the tower that is simply never displayed in the original game, even in Tanner's third-person view or in the Film Director. So instead, let me use the Stratosphere tower, also located in Vegas. In the original game, you guessed it, only the bottom is visible and you can see a bit more of it as Tanner's first-person view by looking up. In OpenDriver, you can see the entirety of the tower modeled as soon as you turn right after the spawn. And that's where we can see that something is missing, the upper part of the Stratosphere. Intended to serve as a panorama view of the strip, we can understand why this part was not even considered to be modeled at all. It is already surprising to see how much longer the tower was in the game, although it is impossible to see half of it in any normal circumstances. They are not the only buildings impacted by this new render distance, but not always to the same extent. It explains why Alcatraz in San Francisco and Liberty Island are so much close to the coast, because otherwise it would not be possible to see them at all. Another example is the Twin Towers in New York. Since the render distance is so small, you are only able to see the bottom of it in-game, and a bit more using the film director. Nonetheless, the towers are higher than the sole render distance is, so it's a good thing for OpenDriver as you can see them from far and still recognize them. But as the footage shows, the cities were obviously not made to be seen from every angle, and many buildings are rendered one way, because it was obvious that the render distance will not allow the other parts of the buildings to be seen, on the highway for example. Sometimes it is entire new viewpoints that are made possible by OpenDriver render distance. When you are in Ghost Town in Vegas, you can see the lakeside on one side and the northeast part of the city on the other side. Once again, since the render distance was much smaller, the artist did not plan to fill the space between, so it looks a bit weird and amazing at the same time. Biggest challenge of OpenDriver will be to avoid the GTA San Andreas Definitive Edition feeling, which could be done with the right use of fog or added texture to at least emulate grounds. I think it is important to watch how the game looks in the original Driver 2. You're not even seeing the ghost town where you are heading to, let alone the lakeside kilometers away or the northeast town that you can only imagine being there far away from the wire fences. That could also be done for the water, which was handled differently depending on the performance needed for a scene. Sometimes it will have a proper textures, but most of the times, especially in Driver 2, you only get that weird mirrored skybox, which is indeed a lack of textures to save things to render. And one direct consequence can be seen in Havana, where you can view the island from the main coast, which is amazing, but you can also see the underground tunnel as there isn't regular water texture to hide it. Again, that could be fixed with a bit of modding edits by placing a water texture or even a more complex 3D model. The challenges are both artistic and graphic, because you don't want to denature the artistic direction and you don't want to add too much to the extent that the frame rate drops. Seeking the perfect balance between the two is going to be interesting, but that is also not the main concern of Soapy at this stage of the project. And to compare once again with Driver 2, we can appreciate the increased render distance, as there isn't much to view in the original game, but funnily enough, the tunnel glitch is also present if you come really close to the shoreline. This video was just a simple analysis and discussion of myself giving my humble opinion. I don't have any role in this amazing project besides showcasing you the great progress made by Soapy. If you like it as much as I do, you can consider giving money by following the link in the description. You can also join the Redriver Club to support my channel, like my film director producer, drivendimension.com, French Contact, Neuroscenes, Takon on YouTube, Paul Lanois, Emmett McLaughlin and CarGuy50. Thanks for watching and see you soon, drivers.